us to set the different styles that we are going to use in dimensions. Dimensioning can be a bit challenging, but I want us to just focus on dimensions to ensure that we get all that we need to get in the. So for us to get into it, I want us to modify the different styles. So on my keyboard, I'm going to type dim styles, dimension styles. So we have different options on what you might be wanting. I want dimension styles, so I'm clicking on this. And then we have annotative and standard. I want us to deal with the standard first. Always read what you've been prompted to read. For example, in this case, once our cursor is on standard, you're told lists dimension styles in the drawing. The current style is highlighted. Right click on the list to display the shortcut menu. Which option is set for the current style? Rename styles, delete styles. You cannot delete a style that is current or in use in the current drawing. The icon before the style name indicates the style is annotative. Now we have standard style. In this case, I want us to modify this. So you click on modify. Then there are different things in dimensions. All these are what you see here. For example, the first one is lines, dimension lines. By block, you can color the dimension lines by block or by layer. If you click on this arrow, you can ask you want them by block or by layer. If you want by layer, like for me, I want by layer. That is why I named a new layer called dimensions. So I click on by layer. Then the line type, again by layer. The line weight also by layer. So in case you want to later change the weight of the line you're using for the dimensions, it will go automatically because the line type is by layer. Then extend beyond text, baseline spacing. Number one, you asked suppress dimension line 1. If you click on 1, you see what has been suppressed. There was a dimension line here that was red. If you suppress this 2, you also see that one also disappears. That is not good because it's not showing us what we are dimensioning. I don't want to suppress them. I want to see where we are dimensioning. That is so the dimension line. This is the dimension line. If you suppress, you are removing this or this. And then you ask the extension line. These are the extension lines. The ones that are still in white, these are what we call extension lines. You asked, do you want the extension line by block or by layer? I want mine by layer. Then extension line 1 also, everything I want by layer. And then line weight also, I want line weight by layer. Then you asked if you want to suppress. Let's see what that looks like. If I suppress this, you see it goes away. If you suppress this, you don't have extension lines that give you where you are starting your dimension from. I want mine, so I'm going to leave them at that. Then you're supposed to extend beyond dimension lines. This is what it means. This is our dimension line. This is our extension line. The extend beyond dimension line is this. From where your dimension line is to this. It is 0.18. And then offset from origin this is the origin. This distance between the origin and where the extension line begins, that is the offset. So I've set my lines. The next thing is symbols and arrows. These arrows that you're using here. If you want closed field arrows, there are different kinds of symbols for the first and the last. If you want closed field like the one we have, or you want architectural tick, let me use the architectural tick. You see now it changes to that. I'll also use here also architectural tick. That is what I want to use for now. And the arrow size, let me change it from 0, let me change it to 200 so that it will be visible in my plan. Then another thing you can change is the text. You told the text style, are you using standard or annotative? You're using standard. Text color, the color that you want to appear, you want the text to appear. Since my dimension lines are red, I want to do a color that will blend with the red and be visible. I'm going to do yellow, and then I'm going to change the text height also to 200. And then text placement, vertical, centered. I'm going to leave mine at centered. And then text alignment, you want it horizontal or align with the dimension line. That means that if I have a vertical dimension line, my text will align with it. Let me do, yeah, this is what it means. If, for example, I am dimensioning this, my text aligns with the vertical one. If I'm dimensioning in a horizontal direction, my text aligns in the horizontal direction. That is what I want to do. And then fit, either text or arrows. Best fit is okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Then primary units, I want to use a decimal format. Then precision, you see, for example, right now my dimensions are being labeled in 4 decimal places. I want them in 2, or I don't want any decimal place. I'm going to click on 0, and then I only want whole numbers for my dimensions. Then once those styles have been set, I click on OK. I have now set the dimension styles I want to use. So now for me to start dimensioning, I'll click on dimension. Then you're supposed to dimension, select objects or specify the first extension line. You can use angular, baseline, continue, align or distribute. I'm going to use continue. So specify the first extension line. I want to dimension from here. The first extension line, origin to continue. This is what I want to dimension. Now that I've set my dimension styles, everything is set as I want them. Now I want to dimension my plan. There are different ways. First one, I'm going to click on dimension. Then I'm supposed to select object to specify first extension line. So I want to dimension from here. That is my first dimension. Then I pull it to a given distance. Then to continue my dimension, I'll just click again on the parts that you want to dimension. You click on the walls and then you drag it to where you want to place your dimensions. Like that. That is the simplest way in which you can place your dimensions. Or you can just move around a given geometry like this. Like for example this first part, and you drag it to a given point. Again you can just drag this to that, this other portion, like that. That way I have dimensioned everything that I need. The second way in which I can dimension is there are different ways of dimensioning. Once I click here, you can dimension linear, you can dimension something at an angle, an arc, radius, depending on the geometry of your object. Another way in which you can dimension, you click on annotate, and then under dimension you can use different ways. This one is the linear dimension, quick dimension, and this one continue. Create a dimension from the start of an extension line that you previously created. If you want to continue, you have to begin from somewhere. For example, I want to, let me show you how we use that. I want to dimension from here to here, and I bring it here. That's 200. So for me to continue dimensioning all these other parts of the plan, I'll click on continue dimensioning. It takes from there to where you give it, where you click. You don't have to do it manually like we did for the first case. That's how we use the continuous dimension. And then we know that the outer dimension should be the whole dimension of the structure. So I'm going to place a dimension from here to here. Then I want to continue from there to here. Then I'll also want to dimension that this other side. Then I continue dimensioning it to this point like this. I dimension the inner walls. Then for me to place the whole dimension, I'll click on this to place the outer dimension. Same to this side, click on dimension, then you click on the walls that you want to dimension first. Then I'm going to click on continue dimensioning like that. That is the basic way in which you can dimension your structure using AutoCAD. Let me also dimension this from here to here like that. Then I continue to place the outer dimensions. Yes, that is the simplest way in which you can dimension your object. This other side also,